Will you lose your age pension if you move overseas? It is one of the most common fears retirees have when they think about spending their later years near family in another country or just escaping a cold Australian winter for good. Here is the real answer, and it is more specific, and in some cases more generous, than most people assume, because this is where most retirees actually live. If you go overseas for up to 6 weeks, your full age pension keeps paying exactly as normal, no changes at all. And that 6-week window is about to get more generous. From the 20th of September this year, it doubles to 12 weeks before anything changes, following an announcement in this year's federal budget. The only thing you need to do is tell Services Australia through your MyGov account once a trip runs longer than 6 weeks, because that notification is what keeps everything running smoothly on their end. Worth knowing too, it's specifically the pension supplement that's tied to this shorter window. Travel past that point and the supplement portion can drop to the basic rate, even though your core age pension itself keeps going. Miss the notification and you're not automatically cut off, but you risk an overpayment being raised later, which is a far more annoying problem to sort out from overseas than a 5-minute MyGov update before you fly out. Now here's where it actually gets interesting, because this is the part almost nobody explains properly. If you're overseas for more than 26 weeks, about 6 months, your payment can shift onto a different calculation entirely, based on something called your working life residence. Centrelink looks at how many years you were an Australian resident between the age of 16 and the day you reached age pension age. If that adds up to 35 years or more, your pension rate doesn't change at all, regardless of whether you worked or paid tax during that time. You get the same rate overseas as you would sitting at home. It's only if you are a resident for fewer than 35 years that your rate gets reduced, and even then, it's reduced proportionally, not stripped away. But here's the part that catches people who assume this is only about migrants who arrived later in life. This calculation applies to everyone, including Australian-born retirees. The clock is about years actually spent as a resident between 16 and age pension age, not about where you were born. Someone born in Australia who spent a decade working overseas in their 30s, then came back, could still land under the 35-year mark without ever having migrated anywhere. It's a residency count, not a citizenship test. Let me put a number on that, because the proportional part is where people panic unnecessarily. Picture someone who was an Australian resident for 28 years, between 16 and age pension age, not the full 35. Their overseas rate isn't zero, and it isn't dramatically slashed. It's 28/35 of the normal rate, which works out to about 80% of what they'd get at home. Not full, but nowhere near the you'll lose your pension fear that drives this question in the first place. On the current full couple rate, that 80% still leaves a genuinely livable base income arriving every fortnight, on top of whatever savings or overseas income the move was already built around. A meaningful reduction, certainly, but a world away from the payment simply stopping. Most long-term Australian residents clear the 35-year mark easily, simply by having lived here through their working adult life, which is exactly why the fear is so often bigger than the reality. Compare that to someone who cleared the full 35 years. Say they've lived in Australia continuously since childhood. They move to be near family overseas for their retirement, stay well past 6 months, and their pension keeps paying at exactly the same rate it would if they'd stayed in Sydney or Perth. No reduction, no penalty for choosing to spend retirement somewhere else, because the residency test is already satisfied in full. The couple sitting at 28 years and the retiree sitting at 35 plus can be making the exact same decision to move overseas, and only one of them sees any change in their payment at all. There's a wrinkle worth knowing for couples specifically too. Each partner's working life residence is assessed on their own history, not combined as a couple. If one partner has lived in Australia for the full 35 years and the other arrived later in life and sits at, say, 20 years, their combined pension can end up split across 2 different proportional rates once they're overseas long term. One partner's share unaffected, the other's reduced. It's easy to assume a couple's pension moves as one number, but overseas, it's genuinely calculated on each person's own residency separately. So what should you actually do if a long-term move overseas is genuinely on the table? First, work out your own working life residence years honestly, counting from 16 to your age pension age, not just a rough guess at, "I've lived here most of my life." Second, if you're part of a couple, do that calculation for both of you separately, since one partner's number doesn't cover the other. Third, notify Services Australia before you go, not after, especially if the trip is genuinely open-ended rather than a fixed return date. That single step avoids the overpayment problem entirely. And if the numbers are close to that 35-year threshold either way, it's worth getting the exact calculation confirmed before you commit to moving, rather than assuming either the best or worst case. So here's the honest shape of the whole thing. Under 6 weeks, soon to be 12, nothing changes at all. Between that window and 26 weeks, you're still simply travelling, and your full pension continues, you just need to have told Centrelink. Past 26 weeks, the working life residence calculation kicks in. And for the majority of Australians who've spent most of their adult life here, that means little to no change whatsoever. The one thing that doesn't happen, for a legitimate long-term Australian resident, is your age pension simply stopping. It's portable, built to follow you overseas. The only question is ever the rate, not whether it continues at all. And if plans change and you come back to Australia permanently, there's no punishment waiting for you either. You simply return to being assessed as an Australian resident again, under the normal rules, the same as anyone who never left. The system is built around the reality that retirees travel, move for family, and sometimes come home again, not around trapping you in one place or the other. 2 honest notes before you go. First, the thresholds, the exact rates, and the residency calculation can change and are reviewed regularly, so confirm your specific position with Services Australia before booking anything long-term. Second, this is general information, not personal advice. Your own working life residence, your specific payment type, and your plans overseas all affect the real answer for you, so this is exactly the kind of thing to confirm directly with Services Australia or a licensed financial advisor before you make the move. If you're planning time overseas yourself, tell me in the comments. It helps me know what to cover next. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Will you lose your age pension if you move overseas? It is one of the most common fears retirees have when they think about spending their later years near family in another country or just escaping a cold Australian winter for good. Here is the real answer, and it is more specific, and in some cases more generous, than most people assume.